Savvy Central Radio, drawing out the best from our guest with your host, Christina Nitchman.
This is your host, Christina Nitchman. Each week, Savvy runs weekly broadcasts providing entrepreneurs and successful individuals a platform to express their dreams, hopes, lessons learned, expertise, and wisdom with the world. Our guest today is Chris Miles, the cash flow expert. Chris is a leading authority on how to quickly create cash flow and lasting wealth for thousands of his clients, entrepreneurs, and others internationally. He has been featured on U.S. News, CNN Money, and Bankrate.com, and has a high reputation for getting his clients life-altering financial results in his company, Money Ripples. Chris constantly practices and teaches small business owners how to do what no other financial advisor can or will, achieve financial prosperity. Find out more about Chris at moneyripples.com. Hey, Chris. Welcome to Savvy Central Radio. How are you?
Just fantastic. How are you, Christina?
I'm doing fine. I'm very glad you can come on out. One of our top rated shows and most asked about, as far as topics is money and mindset and such. So I'm really happy to have you out to talk about your business, which is Money Ripples. And you are a cash flow expert. Tell us a little bit about your background, how you came to becoming a cash flow expert and starting your business, Money Ripples.
Yeah, some people try to get book smarts and everything. Mine came from real life experience. About 13 and a half years ago, I started out as a financial advisor. And when I did that for 4 years, but I realized pretty quickly that it didn't work. Like really, people aren't becoming more financially free following that kind of advice. And I saw people had decades of experience that way. But in 2006, I said, okay, enough's enough. I can't teach this stuff anymore and stay in integrity. So I left. I said, that's enough. I will just go and do mortgages and teach ballroom dancing. That's So that was my plan. But I started coaching with people that were millionaire mentors. Like I noticed that millionaires thought not just differently, but the exact opposite of the way I taught people. So when I started to apply things differently and came from a different perspective, even an opposite perspective, and started focusing more on cash flow and things like that, next thing I know, in July, that was March of 2006, I left being a financial advisor. By July of that same year, I was able to retire. 28 years old with $2,000 in my checking account. I didn't even have to join an opportunity to do it. I didn't have to join anything at the ground floor. It was simply just figuring out how to create value for people and add value. And it was a big epiphany because I thought you had to save up millions of dollars just so that you could actually live off the interest and retire, right? Mm-hmm. But what I realized that wasn't the case is how do you go about serving people in a way that money is the byproduct? And when I realized I could work 3 hours a week and make $4,000 or $5,000 a month, I thought, wow, that's pretty cool, And so I actually retired in 2006, came out of retirement in 2007 to start teaching some of this stuff. Even went through a huge, the whole Great Recession and all the real estate, bubble crash and everything else. That was awesome too, because that put me in a place where I was in the hole about $16,000 a month.
Wow.
Of negative cash flow. So I went from millionaire to upside down millionaire. And then was able to battle back in about 3.5 years, able to pay off over $900,000 of debt and be able to get back to positive cash flow again. And it helped me to really realize that from both of those experiences that really it's not about how much money you have, because no amount of money will ever make you financially free, but it's really about who you become and who you are, and really focusing on cash flow. Because when you have more money coming in than what's going out, it actually creates more options in your life. And when you have more options, when you feel like you have choices and decisions you can make because you're not stuck in a rut, that's where there's real financial freedom. It's not from accumulating lots of money. It's by having a lot more money coming in every month than what's going out. That's where real freedom exists.
You made a lot of really good points there. But what I thought was very interesting is that you said the traditional model of financial advising wasn't working for your clients, and you realized that, hey, working with millionaires, that they actually acted opposite to what traditional financial advising were telling people. What are some of the differences?
Well, financial advisors, a lot of times they'll teach you how to be a good saver. They teach you to accumulate money, set it aside for 5 million years to hopefully someday become a millionaire, right?
Yeah.
If you're even alive to enjoy it. And that's really their model. It's always about spend nothing, save everything, save it forever. Don't touch your money or you're a bad boy or a girl. Pay off your debt like a good little girl would do and all that kind of stuff. And you're doing all these things in hopes that someday, if you're lucky and the market smiles on you, you might be able to have some money in the end. Mm-hmm. And it's really a lot of guesswork and gambling. And what I found out from a lot of the guys I knew were millionaires, they didn't worry about that stuff. They thought it was a joke. In fact, they laugh about it. And most people I know that are wealthy laugh about financial advising and advice that's out there today. All the mainstream stuff, they laugh at because they say, no, that's ridiculous. It's dumb. No, invest in places that really work. And so, where I'm a financial advocate for the entrepreneurs, I'm telling entrepreneurs to actually go and invest into their businesses, places where they can produce cash flow, because you'll create way more wealth there and you have way more guarantees and control than you would gambling it away in some cruddy financial product they're trying to sell you that probably won't even work anyways. And it's been proven not to work the way that people had hoped. And so if you're going to do it, take control of your own finances, take control of your own life, invest for creating cash flow, not accumulation.
That is really, really good points you made there. I know we had someone on last year that was really talking to people about how they could invest in the stock market or in their 401k, and that, if you continue to save for the next 30 years, you could see the rewards or reap the rewards of maybe 1.5 million or so. But by that time, you might be, you might be dead and you might be really sick and not be able to enjoy it. And it left me a little perplexed because I said, you're betting that the stock market, for one, will be here, and that things have not greatly changed. We had the burst bubble in 2008 where a good many of my friends lost most of what they had in the stock market. So you mentioned something very interesting, adding value so that you could create cash flow. Explain a little bit more about that, because a lot of our listeners are coaches and they're just like, how do I begin to turn what I have that is valuable into something that can be cash flow?
Yeah, the safest and surest way of creating wealth is creating value. It's plain and simple. Because when you go and add value, you try to solve problems or serve people in a way and create solutions for people where naturally they want to exchange money to have that in their lives because they know that their life is better off with you than without you. That's when you know that creating wealth is a piece of cake. It's so formulaic. It's so simple. And I think intuitively, especially coaches and people like that, you get it, like you know it. But not many people are telling you that. They're telling you to do like what you're saying, saving that 401k or IRA for 5 million years. Hopefully you might have $1 million, which by the way, $1 million won't mean anything when inflation hits. Yeah. So you might need more like 10 million to get the same effect as 1 million after 30 years, right? All that kind of stuff you hear about, that's stuff. I mean, you're not going to save $100,000 a year into something when you could go invest in serving people and creating value more and figuring out how you can do that. And there's really 3 ways if you really want to increase your income. There's 3 types of capital or assets that you have that you can do that. I mean, one, obviously you can use your money. I just talked about this today with somebody. I talked to a lady where she's in a place where cash flow is really tight. She wants to coach people, but again, like she needs the money right now. And we were able to look at what assets she had, even on the financial side, right? And she didn't have a lot. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. And she had no savings, nothing at all. But she had a couple properties that she had that had equity in them. And so right now we're working on trying to get that refinanced and do some things to free up money there and be able to use some money to pay off some credit cards that came from a really, bad fixer-upper of a rental that she bought. And by doing that, we'll actually free up about $2,200 to $2,300 a month, which is huge for her.
Yeah, and what I'm loving about this, I had it wasn't an interview, it was a book I read on 5 gals who were just worker bees. They weren't business owners, but they were in a huge amount of combined debt of over $50,000, I think. And they all decided to get together, figure out where their money leaks were, and to start to seal them up so that they could create cash flow in their lives. So I know you talk about that a little bit. What exactly are money leaks?
Money leaks is anywhere where you're losing more money than what you should be making. Money leaks can happen from expenses where you're paying for things that you shouldn't be. For example, every one of my clients that I've met with that are business owners are overpaying at least $3,000 to $5,000 a year in taxes. Guaranteed. Like we've not in the last 3 years found anybody who hasn't had that problem yet. Like we're always overpaying in taxes. So how do we stop having you pay in taxes unnecessarily when you don't need to be? Are you losing money like from loans and things like that, credit cards, whatever it might be? By the way, I'm not anti-debt. I am anti-consumer debt. I'm anti, using debt to get into a hole. But I am pro, if you're going to use money like that you're going to create more cash flow than what it's costing you. So I teach people how to respect loans and things like that, not fear it. Because when you fear it, that's scarcity. Scarcity only takes money out of your pocket, doesn't put money in. You need to come from a place of abundance, right? Yeah. Also other places, not tracking your money. Whenever I have business owners that say they're too busy, not tracking their money, I'll find at least $500 a month, guaranteed.
Yeah.
And they don't even have to have a worse lifestyle. That's a crazy thing. I had one woman where she's a graphic designer. We found an extra $1,500 a month, and it didn't even have to kill their lifestyle to do it. It was just money that was just not being careful, not seeing what was productive and what was really working, right? And so just be able to work that down. I even challenge some of my clients to do a 7% challenge where it's like, hey, find in every area that you're spending 7%. If it's $100 you're spending, can you free up $7 a month? Doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're spending, say, $10,000 a month, that's $700 a month. That's almost 10 grand a year right there, right? So that's the money leaks on the spending side. The side that I like to look at as well is the income side, because some of the biggest money leaks that people have is the money you never see, the money you could have been making but you didn't. And I love finding that kind of stuff. It's where can we both, not just money, but it could be your intellectual capital, right? Like I talked about other assets. There's intellectual assets. Like how can you take your ideas and education, training, experiences? I take all my experiences of cash flow in my own life, and I was able to use that to help now hundreds of people free up over $60 million in the last 5 years. In the next 3 years, I want that to be over $1 billion that I save people or help them make in their lives. And that's something that's really awesome that would never have happened had I not had the experiences I had. So how can you take sometimes your problems and turn it into profits, right? How can you take those things and make it bigger? How can you take your relationships, and how can you utilize those to be able to create more wealth and serve more people? How can you leverage other people's talents and abilities to not only help you in your life and your business, but even help other people that you know? And yes, you can even make money off of that too, through affiliate or referral relationships or whatever it might be. Which, by the way, that's how I was able to retire. I was really good at connecting people. And so I would say, here's a great business owner that needs to be connected to this consumer. Let's get them matched up, because the consumer would ask me questions of, who do you know that does blank? I would know somebody that's really good and the best in their industry, and I'd say, talk to them. And then that business owner would pay me a referral fee for it in some cases. Not all of them could legally, but the ones that could did. And I was making $4,000 or $5,000 a month just by getting really good at referring people to the right people that can help solve problems for them. And so everybody came out happy. It's awesome.
Yeah, a win-win there. And I like that you say that, because I know I did this a number of years ago with those 5 gals in that book I had read. I had done the tracking of all my cash in a month, every penny of it, and realized a good portion of it was going to snacks. I was working in a corporate job at the time, and about $20 was going to the snack machine. I was like, oh my gosh, no wonder my waist has been getting bigger. But that was really, really revealing, just keeping that small journal. But what I also like that you mentioned, I've had quite a few coaches on the show where they're like, I'm just here to help people. I don't want to take, I just want to be a giver. And so this one coach who came on my show, oh my gosh, she has a psychotherapy degree, PhD. She's charging $50 an hour as a coach.
Oh.
And I was just like, and so that's the interesting thing here. Like, how do you as a coach decide or put a dollar amount on your value? I mean, I can imagine that's really hard, because what would you tell someone like her?
I've had a lot of people like them. For example, I've coached over 300 chiropractors who very much have the same exact problem. They want to heal the world like Michael Jackson, make it a better place, kind of stuff. But I'll tell you, like, the one thing I keep telling them, and this is one thing that's big, is first and foremost is, what does your industry normally charge? Like, that's the first thing you should know. Because I had that same problem as a financial advisor, because I believed that there was a finite pie of when it came to money. So if I charge people more money, they would lose. Therefore, if I was to be a good and benevolent person, I should charge less so they keep more of their money. Horrible, horrible, false belief. It didn't work. In fact, by the way, most of those people still wouldn't work with me. People started working with me when I at least charged the standard. Like, for example, with mortgages, when I started charging the 1% standard, it's amazing how people walked away happier than they were otherwise. In fact, if you ever ask a used car salesman or any kind of car salesman, if you really dig and ask them who walked off the lot happier, like the ones that probably sent you more referrals, the ones that maybe came back, were they the ones that nickel and dimed you and try to get you down to the lowest price possible? Or are they people that either paid you full price or just negotiated a little bit but walked away happy, where both of you walked away happy? And every time I've asked that question, they'll say the people that paid full price or pretty close to it were the ones that were happiest. The ones that weren't were the ones that nickel and dimed you so low because they thought that you were stealing from them. So they would get you down to a price. But if you said yes to the price, they kicked themselves because they thought they could have gone lower. Because they know subconsciously that in your mind, if you say yes to a price, it's because you value your service or your product a little bit less than the price you accept. If they say yes to the price, it's because they value your product or service a little bit more. So therefore, the one thing your product or service is not worth is the price you negotiate.
Extremely telling right there. I recall I had someone call me way back. She said, I'd like to come on board and I'd like to do an X amount package of advertising. And I immediately hearing, I have financial struggles. I really want to do advertising, but that sounds a little outside my range. And I said, okay, how about I give you 50% because you're a friend of a friend? And immediately we started, trying to haggle me even more. And it just turned into a very uncomfortable feeling. And I thought to myself, I will never do that again. Because it's kind of like I'm undervaluing myself, and they're thinking, well, hey, if you cut the cost half right off the bat, even if I'm a friend of a friend, it's like subconsciously they're feeling, well, it must be worth a lot less than what you told me.
Yeah, friends and family plan, expect full price, pay full price.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everybody's
I think people think, well, I'm a friend or a friend of a friend or a family. You should, do a discount for them. It really doesn't help. I think you do a great disservice to both you and them.
Well, remember, it's about value. Like we talked about, it's about what kind of value you can offer. You can discount, and that's one way to do it. But another thing you do is, can you add more value to the price that you have? So for example, if you really do want to help somebody out, or if they're trying to negotiate, to say, listen, tell you what, the price is going to be pretty much fixed. However, I'm going to throw in this as well. Like I'm going to throw in this or this that's going to help you specifically, and not just for the heck of it, something that you really think that they would know would be valuable for them. And so you can always throw in bonuses and things like that. And I've had many people where I've told them to even raise prices. I said, raise your prices, raise your rates. Trust me, it'll work. In fact, I had one chiropractor. She had not raised prices in 12 years because she said that the economy has been so bad. She doesn't want to hurt people. And I said, listen, if the normal punching the clock type of worker who's just trying not to get fired can do a job and still get a raise of 1% to 3% a year, why shouldn't you, who's trying to master your trade and become expert and better? I said, by the way, are you above average for your industry? She said, yes. I'm like, then you should charge that way. Otherwise, people are not going to respect you. Yeah, but Chris, what if they say no? Or what if I lose patients over this or lose customers over this? Fine. Great. I said, but I'll guarantee you won't. And in fact, I bet you a lot of people will, if they even notice, they'll say it's about time. And so she did. She actually jumped her rates up by 40%. Because it had been so long. And I thought that was minimal. I thought that was just to get her feet wet, right?
Yeah.
And just like clockwork, most people just put out the card, didn't say anything. Several people actually said, finally, I wonder if you're going to do it. But of course, they weren't going to say anything because, hey, if you're paying somebody else and they're not going to value themselves, why are you going to say, you know what, I think I'm going to fire you unless you raise your prices? I did that to my accountant once. Right? But that's because he was a client too. But for the most part, you're going to keep paying because you realize that they value the money more. If they're going to keep charging lower, then they don't obviously value their service that much. But yeah, nobody did. Even the one person that balked at it said, oh, your prices went up. Oh, all right. And they paid it.
I had a friend who is a hypnotherapist and had a practice for many years. And she kept doing the sliding scale type of thing, thinking, of course, I want to help people. And she said patients were coming in with Prada bags or Gucci or whatever. And she's like, wait a second, I'm coming in with a bologna sandwich and they're coming in with Gucci. And she finally had to realize, when am I going to start valuing myself? So yeah, I'm getting from you that one of the most important thing any coaches out there need to consider is really what value do you have, and really to charge the industry and your value and not to undercut.
Yeah. And especially if you teach about flow, like energy flow and things like that, if you more do like energy or empathic type of work, that breaking flow is not a good thing. If you're more willing to give but never receive, you're breaking that flow. You're breaking that exchange that creates wealth for everybody, that blesses everyone's lives. Don't break that flow.
Absolutely. Yes. We can. And I love that because I think sometimes we think, like you were saying earlier, there's this fixed pie. And if I take too much, there won't be enough for everyone. But the way I've seen all of the universe made, everything on the planet, it's so super abundant. You don't pick up a flower and there's not enough flowers for everyone. There's more than enough. It's only when I notice when you get to this point of hoarding because you think there's not enough, that space of, oh, I need to save, and like a squirrel taking nuts and hiding it under the ground, that's when there's not enough.
And what you're saying is exactly right. Mm-hmm. I mentioned that most people that are the financial advisors out there, the financial pundits that are on TV and radio, they all talk about that saver mentality of hoarding, like you're saying, squirrel with their nuts, right? But it's really about stewardship, where there's flow both ways. Steward is actually the best. It takes the best of the spender and the saver and puts it into one person. Because at least the saver is willing to be wise and think about it a little bit. Sometimes they think just for a couple decades, right? But spenders are willing to use money. They just usually blow it. Well, what if you could use money in a way that works? Because stewards will actually spend more money than spenders. And they might actually even accumulate more money than savers too, because they're willing to let that flow happen, because they're trying to create cash flow. They're trying to take their talents and their gifts, and they're trying to take their money and everything they have and use it to multiply and amplify and edify and strengthen and increase everything that they have. That's what a steward does. Mm-hmm. And so when you come from that place of stewardship, not just from a saver hoarder mentality or from a spender gambler mentality, you'll realize that money is much easier and it'll flow in much more easily and more abundantly than it will in those two scarcity paradigms of spender or saver.
So basically, it's definitely more of a stewardship is more of a balanced approach. It's not over saving. It's not overspending. It's really just a balanced approach to receiving and giving.
Yep. You're willing to use money. You're willing to, if you save with a purpose to use shorter term than just, I hope someday when I'm old and gray and wrinkly, that I'll actually be able to spend this. It's about how do I use it today to serve more people, and the natural byproduct is money that comes back to you from serving people those gifts and talents that you have.
And now I have a question for you. Working with so many business owners financially, how can business owners become more aware, notice, and take action on present opportunities in their life, financially or otherwise?
I think we mentioned this, the abundance paradigm is big. Understanding that first and foremost that there are an abundance of opportunities and options out there. Don't ever feel like you're trapped or that you need to be trapped or stuck or that there's never enough opportunity or never enough clients or people like that. You got to look at it from a standpoint that there's more than enough opportunity and there's more than you can actually pull the trigger on. Well, what I see happen so often with a lot of business owners, and I presume, Christina, you've probably been to networking groups before, like Chamber of Commerce or something like that, right? You've probably met people like this where they come to you, they approach you, and you smell the business breath coming off of them. Like it reeks.
You mean it's all about them, is what you mean?
It's all about them. Like they're desperate. You can sense it. Even if you can't put your finger on it, you still sense there's something that gives you the heebie-jeebies and you don't want to do business with them, right? Yeah. They usually throw business cards at you like a mile a minute. Like they're just throwing them at you like crazy, like Chinese stars saying, call me. There's no relationship. It's just, they're basically prostituting themselves, right? And that stuff, like that desperation, when you're trying to force your business, will actually get you opposite results. You'll work harder for less money. But if you actually step back and relax a little bit, and this is something I learned even right before I left being a financial advisor, when you start to create rules and you start to relax and say, you know what, I'm going to develop relationships first. I'm not going to get all huffy, puffy and all desperate to get people to give me money, but I'm going to build relationships. In fact, if I go out to lunch with somebody, say you do a one-on-one with them, stop talking about yourself and listen to them and see what they have and see how you can serve them. Even if it's not through your services, maybe you know somebody that can help them or you have an answer for them, information that they need. Whatever it is, serve them. And I'll tell you, I launched Money Ripples about 3 years ago with a non-compete. I had a 2-year non-compete preventing me to work with all the relationships I had. I had to build brand new relationships. And I remember, if you know John Lee Dumas that does Entrepreneur on Fire.
Betcha. Yeah.
Yeah. He asked me, he said, Chris, if I put you on an alien planet with $500 and a laptop, what'd you do in the first 7 days? And I said the same thing I did with Money Ripples because it was kind of the same thing. I had to create an alien planet because I couldn't use my old relationships. I had to build new ones. And I would take people out to lunch or breakfast or dinner or whatever, and I would just get to know them. And it totally shocked them that I wasn't trying to pitch them because they're always, I mean, you've been out to lunches, I'm sure, where people just sit there trying to pitch you. But I wouldn't do that. I'd say, hey, I've got years for us to get to know each other and we could talk about my business. I want to know more about you. Like, yeah, this is what I do. but let me know more about you and what you think and how you think, and see if I can, connect on philosophies and things like that. That's what I would do with people. And every time people would say, you know what, this is awesome. You need to meet so-and-so. And so they refer me to somebody else. So I'd have another lunch that I'd set up with somebody. And next thing I know, I have people saying, hey, Chris, can I have you speak? I don't know what you speak about, but everybody says you're awesome. Can you just speak on some topic? Sure, I can do that. And I got my name out there. I was able to create a 6-figure business within the first 12 months purely because I was focusing on adding and creating value and just relaxing a little bit, not trying to be desperate and make money. Like, I never ever ask the question, how do you make more money? Start asking the question, how do I serve? How do I create more value for more people?
Wow. I love all of those points, Chris, because I think it was early on in my business, my mentor said, get off your butt, get uncomfortable, and start meeting people. And I did just what you mentioned. I was handing out my business card I was going through 250 cards in like less than a week or something crazy. No, I'm exaggerating, but but you get what I mean. And it was really no relationship building. And over the years, especially building Savvy, I've really gotten to deeply know a lot of people because of the interview process. And I've gotten to know and really like them as human beings, and then gone on to have a deeper relationship with them after the show. And that has really what has juiced up and built the business itself, that building relationship. So I love that you're mentioning that, because I think so often a business owner, you have bills to pay, you have food to put on the table, you get so wrapped up in I need cash that you forget you're talking to real people.
That's right. It is. I mean, if you really understand that it's always about people, that it's the level you serve them, and still be willing to receive too, because some people just give and give and give, but never ask anything in return. Be willing to do both, but really put that focus on serving and helping people. And it's not hard to get what you want when you do ask for it.
Yeah. And in fact, what I still do cold calls today. And when I call someone and they say, so why are you calling me? And I said, well, here's what Savvy's all about, and and how can we serve you as a business owner? And they say, so what do you got going on? And we talk about it and such. But I never, I let them know what our services are. I don't try to pressure them into a package or anything. And if I feel that they're starting to feel inclined but a little threatened by the pricing of advertising, I said, you know what? Come on down to one of our free shows or listen to our shows. And I'd love to hear your feedback and what you're thinking and have some more conversations. Or if you're in the city, meet up for coffee. It's amazing because so many people who have not actually maybe done advertising with me have sent so many referrals to me just based on that connecting with people, as you mentioned.
Yeah, it's so rare to find that it's really easy to stand out when you focus like that. Yeah, I agree.
I love it. Well, we are getting close to the end of our time together, and I don't want people to leave without finding out how they can get in contact with you, find out more about you.
Yeah, you bet. So you can check out my website, moneyripples.com. That's MONEYRIPPLES.com. I've got some free blogs. I also have my own podcast show called The Chris Miles Money Show. You can find on iTunes and Facebook. Facebook's a great way to connect with me. Just go to facebook.com/moneyripples. And I'm always trying to find ways to add value and keep giving you more. And we're just scraping the surface of some really good stuff. But yeah, check our stuff out and get our free ebook online too.
Yeah, I love it. I've been listening to your show. Wonderful show. So everyone, please go check out moneyripples.com and facebook.com/moneyripples to find out more about Chris. And before we head on out, Chris, are there any last words you'd like to leave with our audience?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing really is remember that you can have all the passion in the world, and passion is necessary, but they tell you that do what you love and money will follow. That's a bunch of crap. It's do what you love that others love you doing, and then the money can follow when you have the right skills in place. And so always remember that it's not about you. It's about the people you serve and creating value for them. Listen to them and figure out how you can solve problems for them. And I'll tell you, you'll find so many cool ways to not only help them and get them raving about you, but the money issue won't be an issue anymore.
I love that you mentioned that. I have a friend who started a business. He loves airplanes, was not able to fly for hire because of health issues, but now has created a business around making aviation-themed T-shirts that are just flying off the shelf. He's now a 6-figure business. He also does custom-designed T-shirts. But who would have thought, I'm sure when he started out wanting to be a pilot, that I'm going to be doing this and making a successful business. So you never know. You can take your passions, but find a way that's really necessary and the way people want it and desire it. And yeah, sounds awesome. Thank you so much, Chris, for coming to Savvy Central Radio today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Join our mailing list today by texting Savvy Radio to find out about upcoming guests and events and receive a free gift, how podcasting can help increase sales and influence in your business.
Savvy Central Radio is home to over 100,000 listeners per month globally and runs in syndication on 8 AM and FM platforms, including iHeartRadio and 6 podcasting platforms. To find out more about our paid sponsorship opportunities or to become a guest and find out how we can help you get your message out to the world, call 718 area code 713-2289 or email at savvycentralradio@gmail.com.